Good evening. In the next few minutes, an unprecedented summit on the prevention of child sex abuse within the Catholic Church will begin at the Vatican. But many survivors fear there'll be too much talk and too little action, while Pope Francis has caused anger with his pre-conference comments. SBS Europe correspondent Ben Lewis is there for us now live. Ben, what's likely to come out of this summit?
Well, Janice, good evening. Essentially, that's all down to what Pope Francis decides to do. The Vatican was essentially shamed into hosting this summit following abuse scandals and associated cover-ups in the United States, in South America, and of course in Australia. There are 190 senior bishops here taking part in this summit over the next 4 days. There are many abuse survivors here too. They're not expecting any miracles given the Pope's recent comments. With the world watching to see what steps the Vatican takes to stop sexual abuse within the Catholic Church, Pope Francis had this to say about accusers.
Ma non si può vivere tutta una vita accusando la Chiesa. Quello che la Bibbia chiama il grande accusatore, chi è? Non capisco. Non sento bene. Il diavolo.
It's not the first time he said the church is under attack from the devil in relation to the abuse scandal.
It just seems something ludicrous to say when you cannot arrest the devil or put him before a court or put him in jail, whereas we have real clergy who are sexually assaulting children and they don't even get a mention.
Chrissy Foster's daughters, Katie and Emma, were repeatedly raped by a priest at their Melbourne school. She believes there are steps Pope Francis could take today if he wanted to.
If the Pope was serious about this, he would ask every bishop in the world to hand over their secret archives, their files on offender priests, over to the police, and then that would mean something.
Ahead of the summit, a dozen survivors met senior Vatican officials and demanded radical change.
What is the problem? What's the hold-up in implementing zero tolerance? Like, what is it? Like, tell us, we're here. Nobody. It's like, oh, we already have the laws, we just need to implement the laws. Obviously the laws aren't working because children are being raped right now.
Among those invited to share their story with bishops was Mary Dispenza, a former Catholic nun who was abused by a priest as a young girl.
Francis needs to step up to the plate and be the leader he's called to be so that this church can thrive, or it's not going to go on into the next generation.
Under increasing pressure to take action, it was Pope Francis who called for this summit, but he's recently sought to downplay expectations as to what will be achieved here, describing the conference as the start of a conversation. The Archbishop of Brisbane is Australia's sole representative.
I think that the time for words is long past.
But he has defended the policy of keeping pedophile priests who've been banned from active ministry on the church payroll.
If you cut a guy loose, you've lost any opportunities to supervise him. If you remove him totally from public ministry, but not dismiss him from the clerical state, you can, though this is harder than it sounds, you can supervise him in ways that would be impossible if he were dismissed from the clerical state. So that's again where it's a bit more complex than meets the eye.
And that comment there really shows the gulf between what abuse survivors are hoping for out of this summit, a zero tolerance policy, a one strike and you're completely out approach, and what church leadership are willing to do here. And you have to remember there's also a split within the church hierarchy itself over what should be done about child sexual abuse and the root causes of it. Two very senior cardinals, who are also very conservative cardinals, have caused a bit of outrage here, releasing an open letter saying that they believe the root cause of the abuse scandal is what they describe as, and I quote, the plague of homosexuality within the church. And it should be noted a number of senior bishops, including the Archbishop of Brisbane, have slammed those comments when they were made. Janice, Pope Francis will be making his opening address at this summit in the coming minutes. We will have all the details on SBS News Online and in our late edition.
Plenty of controversy and the summit hasn't even begun. That's Ben Lewis joining us live from the Vatican.